Hi, I'm Francoise Rose and welcome to Traveling with Francoise. We're coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA. With the help of Adult Customized Tour, we're going to see what being on a tour is all about. So sit back, enjoy the ride, and let's go have some fun.
Hey, want to travel? I'll take you there. Want to dine? I'll tell you where. Play golf? I'll pick the spot. Nightlife? I know it's hot. It's never too late to get a life.
We found the perfect trip and we're all ready to go. But before we go on our tour with ACT Adult Customized Tours, first things first, and that's the orientation meeting. So we're all here gathered to go to Nashville, and we can't wait to go, but our host or guide, and we're going to find out the difference, Dixie Knold, is going to explain to us what an orientation meeting is all about. Hi, Dixie.
Hi, thank you, Francoise.
So this is a tour, and there's a difference between a tour guide and a hostess or an escort. What is the difference?
Well, it's a very good difference to distinguish because I know very little about Nashville. Our guides on the other end will tell you all about Nashville, but I will know more about Nashville when we get back. The purpose of the escort is to ensure that the representations of adult customized tours are met, that the hotel delivers what they've promised, that the ground operators deliver what they promise, that the tour guides deliver what they promise. And it's sort of like I work behind the scenes to make things look seamless, especially in those transitions. And you know, Francoise, as a traveler, that the uncertainty of travel lurks in the transitions, the airports, the baggage claim, the buses and things. So I'm behind the scenes making things look like it's so easy.
I consider that all the adventure. Everything that could go wrong, that's all part of the adventure. All right, so we are here for the orientation meeting. This is where the whole process starts. Everyone is signed up. We're excited to go. What can we expect at the orientation meeting? Why is that so important?
Good question. I think, by the way, this is unique to ACT Tours, right? ACT Tours always provides a documentation or orientation meeting. And the reason is it comforts people, right? Would you say so? It's nice to have your documents in your hand before you go. It's nice to be able to ask all the questions you have in advance. And it's nice for us to meet some of the clients that we don't know and for them to give us some fresh ideas. And they get to meet each other as well. And a good time is had by all. And there's great cookies and stuff, too.
Oh, great cookies. Can't pass cookies. Is everyone ready to go to Nashville?
Yeah!
4:45 a.m. and everyone's aboard the bus. We're heading out to LAX to take our non-stop flight on Delta Airlines to Nashville. So this is the start of our adult customized tour. Here's a tip whenever flying. Use a check-in kiosk at the airport. All you need is your confirmation number and you can bypass the long counter line. Remember, carry-ons don't count as a bag, so make sure you put 0 bags unless you are checking bags. After our 3.5-hour trip from LAX to Nashville International Airport, I found the Nashville airport easy to navigate and very welcoming. Our tour adventures begin for some at Nashville's airport, as most of the group hops on a Gray Line tour bus for a sightseeing tour of Nashville and a delicious barbecue dinner. For the rest of us, we are shuttled to Music City Circle in our rooms at the Fairfield Inn and Suites. And it's only minutes from the Grand Ole Opry, delicious Southern cooking, plenty of shopping, and offers a shuttle that runs hourly to downtown Nashville. Welcome back to Traveling with Francoise. All right, this morning we are heading off on tours thanks to Gray Line Tour, so I'm going to hop on our bus and off we go. On our first full day in Nashville, the History of the South tour was a must for part of the group. Once again, Gray Line and our fascinating bus driver and guide, Brian Waite, delivered a day we'll never forget.
Nashville's also a historic city. You know, we've got a lot of great things to see and do. You know, there's a lot of things about Nashville probably you didn't know.
Not only will the tour highlight the area, but also gives you an inside look at the people who live there. Our first stop, the Hermitage, is one of the most visited historic sites in the country. The Hermitage is home to Andrew Jackson, our 7th U.S. president. On the grounds of this one-time working plantation covering over 1,100 acres, Jackson lived in the mansion from 1804 until his death in 1845, where he was laid to rest. From his first log cabin to Jackson's tomb, the property will transport you back in time. Today I'm playing tourist just like everyone else on the tour. We're spread out all over this magnificent property. This is the Hermitage, the home of Rachel and Andrew Jackson. Just imagine how old these trees are and what these trees have seen. Behind me is the first Hermitage from 1804 to 1821. This two-story farmhouse and kitchen was the first home used by the future President of the United States, Andrew Jackson, and his family. The summer kitchen had a number of practical applications in residential life. It separated hot kitchen activities from the rest of the house during the warmer months, and it also reduced the risks of house fires year-round. The mansion is built in a rectangular layout, approximately 104 feet from east to west and 54 feet from north to south. Almost everything in the house belonged to the Jacksons. By the looks of the furnishings and decor, you can see that President Jackson was a very sophisticated person. Behind me, you will see the burial grounds of Andrew and Rachel Jackson. Really takes us back in time being on this property. I don't know, there's just something unique and special about it. And over here to our right, you'll see some family burial plots as well. There's the perfect way to tour the property. Horse and wagon, I love that.
It looked a lot different back then than what it does today. Today it's very park-like, very beautiful. We do a lot of weddings and receptions and that type of thing out here, and you can see why. But back when this was an active plantation, there was very little grass and very few trees out here.
From the Hermitage, it was on to the charming town of Franklin, also home to the restored and furnished Lotz House and the Carter House. Right now we are in the center of town of Franklin, established in 1799. This historic little town used to have only 700 people or so. Today you can see it's a bustling, beautiful community. So always tip the local entertainment when you see good stuff like this.
As long as you love, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Love, love me, love me. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
And if you can look right across the street, there's a beautiful church. The brick buildings here are amazing. So we stopped for lunch. We see a lot of great lunch spots in the town of Franklin here. Afterwards, we'll all 40, well, there's 18 of us on this tour, 40 of us in all, but we'll hop back on the bus and go see the Civil War battle sites. Fascinating. So again, take a look around. We are in Franklin, Tennessee. Our next stop on the tour is the Lotz House. It is on the National Register and Tennessee Historical Commission. Of course, this house here preserves, educates, and inspires future generations and acknowledges the sacrifices of Americans who fought and died here on November 30th, 1864. Just across the road is the Carter House. On the grounds here around this house, this historic house, is where the actual Civil War battles took place, each with authentic remnants of the Civil War still visible to visitors. These two homes are only steps away from each other and is where the heaviest of the hand-to-hand combat happened during the Battle of Franklin on November 30th, 1864, documented as the bloodiest battle in modern times of any war. You'll walk away speechless. What's so incredible about all this, I'm being a California native, a lot of our tourists here from California and around the world, we do not comprehend what happened in the Civil War. We really have no idea the struggles of the families on both sides, the children, how it impacted the way everyone lives, of course, our lives later on. So I'm finding, this is a little bit emotional, but I am finding that to me, in this world of all the political correctness and environment, this really is quite a fascinating place that you have to come visit. Nashville, the outlining area, it really will take you back in time and make you, hopefully help you to understand how America came to be. For the evening, it was all about fun, music, and entertainment, as it was time for everyone to experience the iconic Grand Ole Opry. The Opry is lighthearted and totally entertaining. A surprise guest spot by Vince Gill made for a perfect evening. Along with a multitude of talent and a few songs by Crystal Gayle. Steeped in history and dating back to 1892, the current Grand Ole Opry House contains a 6-foot circle of oak at center stage that was cut from the stage of the iconic Ryman Auditorium to always remind the entertainers how special the Grand Ole Opry stage is. When in Nashville, the Grand Ole Opry is a must. Next door to the Opry is the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center, a destination in itself. The resort contains 9 acres of lush indoor gardens and atriums complete with waterfalls and a river that flows through the lobby. Designed to resemble a grand southern mansion, the Magnolia lobby boasts an impressive staircase and a breathtaking Tiffany-style chandelier. The Gaylord Opryland has over 2,800 rooms and suites and is the largest non-gaming property in the United States. Welcome back to Traveling with Francoise. Day 2 brought us more options. For some, it was the brunch cruise on the Cumberland River on the General Jackson Paddle Wheel Showboat, one of the largest paddle wheel riverboats in the country.
The General Jackson has made a 14-mile round trip from Opryland to downtown Nashville just about every day since the summer of 1985. And almost every voyage shared by Paul Stinson as mate and now as captain. Although his love of this lady began even before she was actually born.
Well, you know, I actually came out on the river back in the early 80s as a necessity. I needed, you know, to go to work. And ironically enough, I was on riding a towboat and barges down the Ohio River and went by the shipyard where this boat was being built. And looked up and saw it, thought to myself, well, it'd be something to work on a boat like that someday. And then, you know, a year and a half, 2 years later, here I am.
The General Jackson is an endangered species, really, a true paddle wheeler.
Well, she was actually designed to look a lot like the steamboats of the 1800s. The lines are basically the same. Obviously, we're a lot bigger than most of those boats were. We're completely built out of steel instead of wood, like most of those boats were, so we're a lot safer. And instead of being a steamboat, we're a diesel-electric powered boat. So we have 2 big diesel engines that turn generators. From that point, everything on the boat's powered by electricity. including the drive motors for the paddle wheels. So even the paddle wheels turn by electricity.
Adult customized tours travelers enjoyed scenic river views, delicious food, and exciting entertainment. It was for many the perfect way to spend an afternoon on the river. For others, such as myself, it was a day to see downtown Nashville and immerse myself in the sights and sounds of country music, which is completely different than Western music. Using the Gray Line Music City Hop, I had the option to get on and off at designated stops for an entire day. While on the double-decker bus or the trolley, a guide narrated the different sites and areas that we were in.
One of the best ways to see Nashville is take the trolley. You can hop on and hop off all day long. One price gets you all day on and off the trolley.
At one stop, I spent time at the Patsy Cline Museum, above the Johnny Cash Museum. Both made me feel like the artists are still with us.
I said, blue moon of Kentucky, keep on a-shining. Shine on the one that's gone and left me blue.
We're in the Patsy Cline Museum, which is above the Johnny Cash Museum in downtown Nashville. I wanted to point out how technologically savvy museums are coming. They have kiosks throughout the entire museum where you can read and listen to all the facts about Patsy Cline. In this case, these are all her love letters through life that have been preserved, and you can read them right here in her very own handwriting.
You'll marvel at all the different styles of clothing Patsy wore on stage and at home. I didn't realize how many hits Patsy Cline had, including her many platinum albums. The museum was a blast from the past and was a great choice to see. And of course, you can't forget the gift shop. On our double-decker bus tour, it took us to Music Row, an area just to the southwest of downtown Nashville, and home to hundreds of businesses related to the country music, gospel music, and contemporary Christian music industries.
16th and 17th Avenue South was Music Row, and to me it was like, heaven.
And the thing that's interesting to me about Music Row, Owen Bradley and a couple other guys just basically made it up as they went. And these were just houses, just basically homes on a street, and they started making music.
You'll also see along the way historical sites such as RCA's famed Studio B, where hundreds of famous musicians have recorded songs and over 1,000 top 10 American hits were made. The king himself, Elvis Presley, recorded over 200 of his songs at RCA's historic Studio B on Music Row. A string of Christmas lights still hangs in the studio to this day. These lights were put up when Elvis had a hard time getting in the holiday spirit while recording a Christmas album.
Music Row has really been an interesting place in that when you walk around Music Row for the first time, you notice all these older homes that have been converted to music businesses, whether it's publishers or a manager, a recording studio, or a record company. And one of the interesting things about Music Row here is that you literally can get to just about any of these music businesses within about a 5-minute walk.
Be sure to take a guided tour of the area, as you'll see Garth Brooks' privately owned recording studio, the hotel that Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra used to stay at, along with recording studios currently being used by the top country artists of today. One thing on Music Row you can't miss seeing is Alan LeCure's 38-foot-tall sculpture, Musica. The focal point of the street's roundabout, it has 9 nude figures rising from a central pedestal. Speaking of records, United Record Pressing, a vinyl pressing plant, is one of the only 4 remaining vinyl manufacturers in the nation. Operating since 1949, United has pressed millions of records for artists like Elvis Presley, Lionel Richie, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and NSYNC, as well as for numerous hip-hop and reggae musicians. Located at 453 Chestnut Street, the same location that pressed those Beatles 7-inch records.
We get the vinyl in pellet form, and those pellets are heated to about 250 degrees and squeezed like a tube of toothpaste into a metal cup that forms sort of a biscuit or like hockey puck shape. And that biscuit is brought between the stampers with the label below and above. The labels are applied to the record before even the music is applied to the record, and there's no adhesive holding the labels onto the record. It's just that the vinyl's that hot that the paper is sticking to the vinyl. So you'd have the A stamper on the bottom, then the B side stamper comes down with about 6,000 pounds of pressure and presses those grooves into the record. Then when it comes back up, the untrimmed record goes forward, gets grabbed by trim pads which spin the record while a blade comes down and cuts off those trimmings. And then we save those trimmings and grind them up and can reuse it to make more records.
Tennessee loves their football team, and directly across the river from downtown and located on the east bank of the Cumberland River is the Nissan Stadium. Opening in 1999, the stadium's construction was delayed when the construction site was hit by a tornado that struck down Nashville on April 16, 1998, and destroyed several cranes, but the stadium did open in time for the first scheduled event, a preseason game between the Titans and the Atlanta Falcons. The Nissan Stadium has a capacity of 69,000 people and is primarily used for football. It is the home field of the NFL's Tennessee Titans and the Tennessee State Tigers of Tennessee State University. The Nissan Stadium is also used for large concerts, such as the CMA Music Festival's nightly concerts, which take place for 4 days every June. Long before Nashville became Music City, it was known as the Athens of the South because of its many higher educational institutions. Owing to the Athens of the South moniker, in the 1890s, the city built a full-scale replica of Athens' Parthenon for the 1897 Tennessee Centennial Exposition. The Parthenon in Centennial Park is the world's only exact replica of the ancient Greek temple and is home to many fascinating sights, including an art museum run by the city and the gilded goddess of wisdom, Athena. At 42 feet tall, Athena Parthenos is the Western Hemisphere's largest indoor statue. If you have a chance to go inside Tennessee State Capitol, you don't want to miss it. It is one of the oldest operating capitals in America. The architect William Strickland considered the Capitol his crowning achievement and chose to be entombed above the cornerstone. Additionally, James K. Polk and his wife are buried on the grounds of the Capitol. It's all about the music in Nashville, and it's easy to understand why it's referred to as Music City, USA, a nickname that was first used in 1950 on NBC radio. However, in 1941, Nashville was granted the first FM broadcasting license in the U.S., and Music City became the first to enjoy static-free radio. Today, Nashville has more than 160 live music venues throughout the city, and so you know, venues that play music 4 or more nights a week will have a guitar pick-shaped sign that says live music venue posted outside its doors. Nashville has easily combined its history with the exciting sounds of today. Finally, for all of us on the tour, it was time for the 2017 solar eclipse, Mother Nature at her finest. There are a lot of things I like about an organized tour. The fact that someone else does all of the stressful planning and bookings. You can choose to do things on your own, go with a group, or do both. And you'll find at the end of the tour you've become one big family, watching out for each other and making travel buddies for life. Before our Nashville trip comes to a close, I want to get everyone's opinion on what they thought. What was the highlight of their Nashville experience?
I just really enjoyed the Civil War sites, and the Hermitage, which was Jackson's home, has been on my list for years.
Franklin, the city of Franklin. Franklin was just wonderful. Where the Civil War started, I didn't know that. Each one was wonderful in itself.
The Grand Ole Opry, I love that hall. It was spectacular.
Well, the whole trip has been wonderful. I've enjoyed all of it. And then I've met some of the nicest people.
The entire trip was awesome, but the eclipse was amazing in my one lifetime here.
Of course, the big highlight is that we're all here together.
So until next time, you all be adventurous, and remember, it's never too late to get a life.